Yesterday, the president delivered a fiery speech on the strength of the military alliance.
All of the allies knew that before this war, Putin thought NATO would break. Today, NATO is stronger than it's ever been in its history. When this senseless war began, Ukraine was a free country. Today, it is still a free country. And the war will end with Ukraine remaining a free and independent country. Russia will not prevail. Ukraine will prevail.
Well, more on just how important that performance could be for the president in just a moment. But we do start with correspondent Joe Khalil. He's live for us there in Washington. Joe, even if many prominent Democrats are not specifically calling for the president to drop his campaign, some are really walking right up to the line.
Yeah, they are. That continues to happen, Nichole, and it just shows that the concerns that some Democrats have raised privately, others publicly, are still very real. Take former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi just this morning on another network asked point blank whether Joe Biden should remain the nominee or drop out. She didn't say yes or no, expressing support for his nomination. What she said was he should make that decision soon, and that's what she says she urged him to do. Now, the strange thing about that response is President Biden has already said what his decision would be, that he intends to remain in the race. So the fact that you have responses like that from someone as well respected in the Democratic conference as former Speaker Pelosi raises even more questions. Just last night, we saw Senator Michael Bennet from Colorado say effectively that Joe Biden will lose this race. That is what he firmly believes, and that it may be a landslide victory, right? That is coming as close to calling for someone to drop out without actually crossing that line as you can. We're continuing to see that. Just this morning, Congressman Richie Torres today is the latest person to raise concerns publicly. And what he said was, quote, in determining how to proceed as a party, there has to be a serious reckoning with the down ballot effect of whoever we nominate. Translation, there are concerns that President Biden could be a liability for Democrats in the House and the Senate who've got re-election races. And Nichole, I want to point to one interview we did yesterday with Congressman Dean Phillips. This is a man who is a moderate Democrat, the only one who months ago actually challenged Joe Biden in the nomination fight on the basis that he said, look, he was a good president, but I think Joe Biden is too old, and that's a big risk for our party. At the time, he wasn't taken very seriously. Now, this is what he says. If he is ultimately the nominee in November, do you think these statements are going to hurt his campaign and his chances as November gets closer?
No, I don't. Any more than mine did 8 months ago. I think it will actually inspire and perhaps empower and enlighten both the president and his campaign, should he continue, as to what needs to be done. And a lot needs to be done.
And Nichole, he also said that if this is vindication for him, then it feels terrible to feel vindicated. But he says that there have been other members of Congress who've come forward to him and essentially said they're sorry for not taking his concerns more seriously when he raised them originally.
Yeah, certainly a situation where, hindsight may or may not be 20/20. Joe, let's go back to something we mentioned at the top of this news that one of Hollywood's leading men, also a big Biden supporter, George Clooney, thinks he should withdraw from the race.
Yeah, and to the extent that celebrity voices matter, and I'm not sure how much they do realistically, but to the extent that they do, George Clooney is an important one. He has been a longtime Democrat. Openly, he says that he's someone who actually has raised significant money. He was there with Joe Biden. They raised $30 million for his campaign alongside Barack Obama just a couple of weeks ago. But now the fact that he says that he's got serious concerns, and in his quote, he says that the Joe Biden that he saw is not the big effing deal Joe Biden of 2010, but it was rather the guy that we all saw at the debate, should raise some serious concerns. And what's interesting to me is that celebrities, unlike many of the politicians here, seem to be willing to be more open and forthcoming rather than keeping those private. So he's been very candid about how he feels here.
Certainly may or may not have an impact. Joe Khalil, live for us there in Washington. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.